As a collective, we assume more is better. It's not our fault, we've been conditioned to believe so through large corporations, big tech, and smart money. But spirituality in particular is a risky business. Spirituality is defined as that which affects the human spirit, as opposed to materials existing in the physical world. I personally define spirituality as the never-ending quest for the truth regarding life's most fundamental questions. I consider myself fairly spiritual, especially for my age. I've thought long and hard about myself and the world around me. And like most, I've always believed more is better. A recent encounter has shifted my perspective drastically. Let's begin. I was walking back to my apartment one day when I decided to stop by a bar. It was late for me, and I wasn't especially interested in having a drink. I was unknowingly looking for an experience. An unusual individual with a compelling story with whom to have a life-changing conversation with. And boy did I get it. After comfortably beating some older men in a game of pool, I met a guy 5 years my elder, and relatable in almost every way. In our small talk, I discovered his intensely competitive nature. I learned of his extreme mathematical and technical proficiency. I related to his upbringing, as we shared a similar background. Our conversation unfolded, and we discussed the events leading us to this particular point in space and time. He took me back to his college days. He graduated atop his class with a master's in computational finance from premier institution Carnegie Mellon University. He was young, smart, and had connections. On paper, his life was set. He was going to get a promising career, climb the corporate ladder, buy a house, marry a woman, start a family, and live happily ever after. Except he didn't. He was 27 and had nothing to his name. He had just relocated across the country, and was working just for housing. He was an alcoholic, capable of finishing an entire handle in one night. He gambled compulsively, telling me he lost $600 just the previous night. He was excommunicated from his family. And as someone who personally understood his upbringing, that last one hurt me the most. At this point, my mind was whirring. I saw too many similarities between us. From our fighting spirit, to our desire for the truth, to our logically calibrated brain. Upon realizing our parallels, my anxiety, which I'd been keeping in check, broke free. I questioned myself. Am I destined to the same inevitable fate? Could my desire for online income and financial independence eventually lead me to poverty? Is it possible my entire self-improvement journey is for naught? Could my devotion to seeking the truth end up ultimately costing my livelihood? I voiced my anxieties, and the topic of spirituality arose. After certain experiences in his final year of college, he came to the single conclusion that we have only one life, and that it's too short to spend in an unfulfilling manner. We've all heard this common sentiment. But there's a difference between how we hear these words, and the way he truly internalized them. And this difference cost him. Because of his perspective, he could never hold a job. His faith in his beliefs prevented him from securing his own basic necessities. Ultimately, his spirituality took away the desire for money, status, luxuries, everything superficial about the world we inhabit. At this point, we reached the crux of our conversation. Everything we discussed reduced to the fact that spirituality has an inverse relationship with the ego. And among his quest for spirituality, for the truth, he lost his ego. This allowed him to rationalize the decisions he made. He gave me, at this point, some $1 million advice. He said there's a time and place for spiritual quests. But when you're young, hungry, and full of life, you need to fuel your ego, rather than inhibit it. Your ego is instrumental to reaching your maximum potential. Little doses of spirituality provide perspective, but overall you must stoke your ego to become who only you know you're capable of becoming. At this point my anxieties subsided, my thoughts clarified, and my vision reaffirmed. First of all, I'm going to stay away from any psychedelic medicine for the foreseeable future. Second, and perhaps more importantly, I realized I'm doing the right thing. I'm on the true path. I'm feeding my ego until I can't anymore. I'm building my social presence, financial independence, and communication skills via the modern samurai. I'm building my dream physique and cultivating sheer confidence through boxing and resistance training. I'm developing a vibrant social circle through my various hobbies. I'm doing everything necessary to become who I'm capable of being, and I'm doing it to the absolute max. I have no explicit lesson to share. No profound teachings or life advice for you to implement. This was just an encounter of mine I felt like sharing. Albeit, one I can't help but feel was indicative of a higher power. It's no coincidence I received the words of a divine spirit through this vassal, and I also happen to be in a position to share it with thousands. It's a sign pointing to the role I'll play in this world. And on that note, I bid you farewell, and until next time.